So let's talk about it. I'm going to
I'm
open in
nervous.
prayer.
Okay.
Would you like to pray or would you prefer that I pray?
Nah, you got it.
Okay. All right, Lord, thank you for waking us up. Thank you for meeting the needs of our households. Help us continue to grow and develop in our knowledge of you. Thank you for
My girl V.
taking her time out to chat with you, girl, and continue to bless her and her family and just lift her up in her time of need and just in all the things she wants to accomplish. In Jesus' name, amen.
Mhm.
All right. How are you? Like, we don't talk much,
Um, I'm good.
but I be checking in. You be like, we good. And I'll be like,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm really good actually. So
How's the baby V?
oh,
Sorry.
oh,
Your daughter.
oh, grown.
What
No.
you
Grown
mean? She's
grown
still
in
in
the best way
school.
though. Not for much longer.
She's still
She
graduating
has
early.
she has a month and a half. What's today's date? She got a month
Right.
and 10 days left.
And then that's it.
That's it.
Is she going to college?
Yeah.
Where she want to go? What she want to do?
She is settled on Grambling and she wants to be like a political journalist. So she's trying to change the world.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
we need those.
Yeah.
So I wanted to talk to you about your church experience, but I wanted to know, were you raised in the church? Well, because some of your family is like grandma, mama, aunties, like everybody go. So I guess, what was your introduction to the church? Like, did you just go on your own? Like, how did that start? I guess.
Honestly, like my early childhood is a bit of like a blur-ish, right? So, but I do recall, I don't know if you've heard of like the Unity churches.
Mm-mm.
They're all over the country.
Okay.
And my grandmother used to go, my grandmother on my mom's side used to go, and huge church. And they had like separate churches for separate, like, for like the babies before they were like 3, they have like a little church there on the one side of the church. And then they have like a little church for the kids on one side of the church and a little church for the teenagers on one side of the church. So that's probably like my first experience between that and my grandparents on my dad's side were also in the church every Sunday. So I'm pretty sure that was like my first introduction, which was cool-ish. I mean, it just felt like school on Sundays, you know what I mean? Except I was learning to read Bible stories, and they didn't even at Unity, they didn't even make them feel like Bible stories. So like it was like songs we had to learn and stuff like that. So that's probably my like introduction. As far as being old enough to understand what was going on, so we'll call it maybe like 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Um, that would be my older sister. And she was very heavy in the church when she was a teenager, like extremely heavy. She still is now, actually. I'm pretty sure she's still an ordained minister now. But when I was younger, I was going to church with her because apparently I don't, she couldn't leave the house without taking her little sister with her. So much to her demise. No, but so she was in the church probably if I remember correctly, every Sunday, Thursday, and sometimes on Tuesdays. I think they had this thing called Virtuous Women Tuesdays for the women, and they did something on Wednesdays, I think, for the guys. So I was in church almost half the week with my sister uh religiously during my pun intended, during my like older kid to younger teenager years. So that's it was there, and it was there heavy. So
What I guess, what was your experience like? Did you? Because it sounded like when you were going with your grandma, you was like, sounded like fun, like you had fun because they were teaching you, but you were like learning these Bible stories, and you didn't. in my mind, it was fun because you were like a kid and like hanging out with other kids, learning things. And I know you like to learn. So I'm
Yeah.
like, you're like a little scholar over here. So I didn't know if you were, that was later in life, or were you always like that?
um I was always like that. It was learning and school environments for one reason or another have always been like my refuge. So it was fun. It was very fun going with my mom's mom, my grandmother on my mom's side, because of the way the church was set up. Like it wasn't a Black church. I'll say that. There were a few of us, maybe like 10 of us, but so it was like a real fun environment. It was a real like regimented environment. Like we went in at 11. If we were out by later than 12:30, something special was going on. We were getting fed or something like that. So it was like 11 to 12, you know, and they packed that hour, like I said, with like songs and like cool little lessons or whatever. And that, of course, that made it easier to learn. And it also, created like a foundation for when I did things later in life. It's like, oh, I knew this, but I didn't know it was in Romans. You know what I mean? Like, so it just kind of put it later on in life, it puts a placement to the stories and stuff that I learned. So more, I guess, discipline to the stories and things that I learned. So yeah, it was fun as a kid. I would say going with my grandparents on my dad's side was interesting. That was a Black church. So I remember being there for hours, and it's in the South, and it's a long time ago. We're not going to talk about my age, but there may have been AC some days, so it was hot. It was and I didn't understand a lot of what was going on there. There was a lot of yelling. There was a lot of a kid in a southern, I want to say, Baptist church. I'm not too sure.
That sounds so classic Southern
But
Baptist, like so hard.
so that was like going with my grandparents, and that was like on special holidays. So I'm like a kid, like on Easter, like today, and in my wonderfully frilly dress in the depths of the Florida heat. But yeah, but with my grandmother on my mom's side, it was pretty fun. When I got older and I started to, like I said, comprehend what was going on, I would say the religion part of the church was the only part that I liked, because I realized that there were other sectors to the church, and I had a pretty high comprehension of things emotionally and intelligently at a very young age. And when I saw the other things that were happening in these buildings, it was like, okay, I'm gonna get my word, and I'm gonna sit in the corner until my sister's ready so we can go home. So yeah, it did change once I got a little older.
That sounds about right. I was about maybe 9 before I realized, like I'm here. I was here all the time, and I was like, okay, now I started to comprehend, but still not fully grasping the whole, you know, like mindedness and like being saved and all that good stuff. Um, so you told me you had some stories to tell me, but before you get into your stories, can you tell me uh what is your definition of church hurt? Because we talked about like how the name of it is kind of like a weird name to qualify something in that way.
Yeah.
And also, were you like saved and baptized? And what age were you?
I'm pretty sure I was baptized as a baby. Um, I have no memory surrounding that, but I'm almost certain that I've seen a dress and a certificate from a ceremony. So I'm pretty sure that happened as a baby. I went through it again, um, somewhere between 8 and 10. I do apologize. These age ranges are gonna be out there because my memory around anything before like 21 is fuzzy. But I want to say it happened again around somewhere between 8 and 10 while I was going to church with my sister. And it happened again when I could kind of gain a complete understanding of what was going on. Like I understood it the second time, right? But there's one thing to understand and be taken to church, 3 days a week. There's another thing to understand and see my sister walking out the door and have the choice. And I make the choice to say, hey, wait up, let me put my shoes on, you know? So, and it happened again around that time. I want to say probably 13 or 14, maybe more likely 13.
So you're saying that you did get baptized, or you gave your life to Christ?
Yeah.
At that later age of like teenager age, whatever.
Yeah.
Like pre-teen teenager.
Yeah. Okay. 3 times. Like at birth, I'm sure. And
Right.
then when I was younger, like I said, somewhere between 8 and 10, and then a little older, around 13.
Did you knew what it meant when you were doing it at that teenage age?
Yeah.
By then.
Yeah, I know.
Right, because you had all that teaching and all that good stuff.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, I know what it meant. And as far as, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, you were going into it. Go ahead.
As far as my definition of church hurt, I think you and I have talked about it, that it, girl, you didn't prep me for this question. I guess my definition of church hurt would be trauma, mild or strong, caused by people who have made themselves representatives of the church. I use the words made themselves representatives because I feel like there are representatives of the church that don't know that they're representatives of the church, because I feel like every Christian is a representative of the church. What you do every day when nobody's watching, when everybody's watching, that is a representation. And I think that when people make themselves representatives, it's a sort of posturing, it's a sort of putting themselves out there as, I am an authority and I have the authority to speak on this, and I have the authority also to speak on your life. And they're taking all of that authority and the people that respect that and honor that authority and abuse it. And when the abuse comes in, that's when the hurt comes in. Because at that point, to respect and honor, excuse me, I'm a firm believer that hate cannot be there without love. And once love and hurt clash is where the kind of hate comes in. And I think that church hurt causes hate sometimes. And I think it's because we have that respect and that honor for the position that this person plays on one level or another, even if we don't recognize it. And for someone that we respect and honor and essentially love in that way to hurt us, whether they know it or not, it causes a hate. So I believe that's, I guess, I think I answered the question. I think I went a little too far past the mark.
No, you good.
But yeah, like that's what I feel like.
You're a thorough talker. I always appreciate how you choose your words. And even when we've had some hard conversations, I can look back on what you said and gain an understanding. Like, even if I didn't understand at the time, I could be like, oh, okay, she did say this. Like, it's calculated.
Got it.
It's meant to be understood. And sometimes what we hear is different from what people said. So if you can, like, focus enough to listen, then good stuff. But no, you answered it. So would you like to tell us the stories that you have experienced?
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm here for. Again, there are a few that stick out in my mind. There are a few that cause some changes in the key parts of me, I'll say. First, I want to start by saying that, because I feel like this is super important. And I feel like this is, by the time we get to the end of this will be an assumption that people will have made. And I want that assumption I want it to be cleared now. The things that have hurt me, that people that representatives of the church have facilitated in no way caused me to stray from God. The biggest impact they've had on me is causing me to stray from a willingness to trust people. Got that out the way. So when I was younger, I think the first thing I remember, so I was, I'm going to say we, because, I was a kid, so I didn't really have control over any of these things. We were not the best off as a family. There was a lot of struggle. There was a lot of poverty. There was some transientness. There was some, unhousedness going on when I was younger. And I remember going to church with my mother often. It was a big church. I'm not going to say the name because then you'll know who I'm talking about when I tell you what actually happened. And anyways, so it was a huge church in Atlanta. And at this time, there were a few of them. This was before there was just like one big church in Atlanta, but there were a few. And I remember, like I said, going to church with her every Sunday. And at one point, we were losing everything again because this had happened, several times when I was younger. And my mother was thinking, I guess, I'm not sure, I guess it makes sense to think this way, but she was like, we're here every Sunday, and this guy is always talking about how he helps his people. So we get a meeting and talk with this guy after church one Sunday. So he's the head of the church. And my mom tells him what's going on, and really she just needs help. I think at that point we hadn't had lights for a significant amount of time. God knows the creativity that was coming into breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And she just wanted some kind of help. I think the main thing she was just asking for is help with the utilities, And this guy had someone go through the church books while we were talking to him. And by the end, he had what he needed, which was the fact that it was not on record, my mother's tithing history. Her W-2 was not on file with them. I shit you not. And he said, unfortunately, at this time, I can't do anything to help you out. And I'm pretty sure that was the last time that I can remember my mom consistently going to church back then. I think now she goes all the time, I think. And if she doesn't go, because honestly, I can't see her like getting up to go right now, actually. So she probably just has church in her living room, which is something I've known her to do for a while. And so that's probably the first story. And I'm very surprised. I guess I'm not surprised because it didn't, like I said, it didn't affect my want for the religion, but she currently is still very, I'm sure she reads at least a little piece of the Bible every morning, and things of that nature. So it didn't stray her from that. Trying to think back as far as her actually going to church, I only remember a few instances after that. So, and I could be wrong. But yeah, so that's probably the first time I was like, huh? I didn't comprehend a lot of it because I was younger, but getting older, I understood what some of those words meant because I'll never forget that moment. And I was like, oh, okay. Getting older, but
that's crazy. Like, I didn't even know there was an option to have your W-2s on file. The previous tithing, yes, because you usually put your name on what you give. But I was just like, that's a lot of information, like those, for no reason.
From what I've seen in the time that I've known you, I'm not too sure, like, as far as how big of a church you've gone to. The church that I think I went to two. Did I go to two different churches with you, or was it just the one?
Possibly.
But I
My
didn't
church
see
back home is pretty
anything.
big.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't see anything that would like cause me alarm. Like, had you asked me to go to church with you when I was in LA and the parking lot looked like a mall, I would have been like, let me call a Lyft real quick because get somebody else to do it. No, it's not. Because those are the ones that immediately I'm thrown off immediately because of this. Because and I don't know if they still do this. Maybe they don't. Maybe they don't do this anymore. But the church, it took account of who was tithing what, because on your tithes they give you the envelope where you can write XYZ. And also, like, anytime I gave to a church willingly, and I'm not thinking about it until now, honestly, I never wanted to write on those envelopes. It did not matter how much I was put. I never wrote anything on those envelopes. But I don't know if it's related. Maybe, I don't know. But and that's not the first time I've heard of a church wanting your W-2s. And it was so I don't know if it's a huge church thing.
It's
because
not.
I've been to small churches and they never asked for a W-2. That's weird. As far as
That
the
is
writing on the
so.
envelopes, I know they come like that. So,
That's so much of a boundary issue. I can't even begin
girl.
to and comprehend why would that ever be necessary
Yeah,
to be like, we need it on file when you file. Like,
girl.
oh
And
no.
I don't know. I don't know if that's something they still do. I don't know, girl. But yeah, so that was like my first.
And you were
Like,
in the room when this happened.
mhm.
Was
Yeah,
your
it was
sister
just
there?
it was just me. I'm pretty sure it was just me and my mom, because if my sister was there, I feel like she would have had us hang out and wait somewhere. So I'm pretty sure it was just me and my mom. My sister spent a good bit of time after we moved to Atlanta. She left and went back to Florida for school at some point. I can't remember exactly at what point. But it was a lot of back and forth between both of us, between Atlanta and Florida. So I don't think she was there for whatever reason.
That's awful. But
Girl.
okay, so we have a few more stories. Well, you told me three. So give us the other.
Yeah, yeah. I guess three that kind of stick out. I
Stood
have a
out, right?
billion. I'll be honest with you.
I know, I know.
But I think the other, you know what? I can take a bunch of stories and put them into one generalized story. I would say going to, forgive me, little sister, and anyone affiliated with my little sister that might be, but it is what it is. So, and I say that because my little sister, not a blood sister, she went to, yeah, we'll just call it went to the church that my sister was taking me to every week. And we just kind of bonded in a way that I don't think I'll ever really honestly bond with my actual sister, my actual family. And that's been my little sister ever since. So going to church with my older sister was an experience. Okay. The church was non-denominational. But there was there was a lot of just clicks, I guess. And there was obvious favoritism. And the
It's
biggest
very
thing,
common, very common.
God, why? I love you, you love me. What you need, what I got. You know what I mean? Like, that's what it is. That's what I feel like it should be in any environment that is surrounded, that are centered
It
around
should be.
religion.
I agree
Yes.
with you.
But the thing that I noticed that kind of hurt me the most is there were two people, as far as adults, that made sure me and honestly the other younger generation that was walking around that church were taken care of and being properly fed. And I don't mean fed physically, I mean like spiritually, and sometimes physically. A lot of times physically, actually. But just made sure that we weren't left out. And on top of that, they also made sure things were running smoothly on a ground level. They put in a lot of physical work, a lot of, let me make sure this place looks like this. Let me make sure this food looks like this. They did a lot of the work. Um, and I found that those people, it was two or three of them, they were treated the worst. And I didn't understand it. I didn't understand it. They were often, excuse me, overlooked, um, talked over, and it was just a lot of undermining going on, and it hurt, especially as someone who, once I walk out these doors, I am forgotten, I am overlooked. You know what I mean? But I come in here, these doors where everyone is supposed to kind of rally around each other. And the main people that I see doing the unconditional loving, the main people that I see doing the work are screwed over or just completely like, it's easy for a kid to see when someone's not being treated well. It's very easy because we pay so much attention to everything and everything people say and everything people do and the body cues. And it hurt. It hurt. It made me not want to um, speak with a lot of the adults. It made me scared of a lot of the adults. And this is even like as I got older as a teenager, I didn't, and this is the transition that happens, right? We as kids, we don't want to, we get scared of the adults. And then we turn to teenagers and our comprehension goes up and we go from being scared of them to, I don't want to listen to nothing you got to say. So, and that's dangerous, especially in the church, because I'm sure there are adults that aren't exhibiting hurtful behavior that have important things to say, important things that teenagers need to hear, especially in the church. But if they see that behavior, even if it's coming from Paul and Jack over there, they're not going to want to listen to James and Mary over here, and that's kind of what happened there. And it wasn't a direct hurt, but it also was, because one of those people was my sister, was my older sister. And I'm like, she's the reason why I'm here. She's the reason why a lot of these people are here, you know? Um, and that was painful to me because that's my family, you know? I'll be more likely to react over family than if somebody hurt me, I'll be honest with you. And that's one reason why it was a direct hurt. Another reason was seeing the things that my little sister was going through by her own family. And it was like, if y'all don't, embrace this girl, I don't even know what that looks like at home for me. But I know once I come here, that's all I want to do is embrace these younger people, even though I'm like 10, 11, 12,
You wanted to
but
embrace the younger people, even
yeah,
though you,
I
you were the
did.
younger people.
I was, and I did, but it was like, aren't y'all supposed to be doing this? Y'all live together. Aren't y'all supposed to be doing this? And so I don't know. It was just ugh. And then take those two, my sisters, and someone that was there for me when I was younger, the way a mom should be. She's not with us anymore, God rest her soul. But when I tell you, the kindest, most open, sweet, just, if I have 3 pennies and you need 10, I'm gonna find the other 7 person I've ever met in my life, and hurting people like this, seeing these people hurt, seeing these people who are reaching out through service, having their hands smacked, figuratively, it's like, this is freaking painful, and I think that was probably like my second instance, and that's more of like teenage me, you know. Yeah, so that was me taking like 20 stories and putting them into one, because I could get individual for sure. I remember these moments. It's crazy how we remember the things that hurt, but yeah, I just smush them all into one.
That was a good smush. I
Yeah,
like it.
yeah, for sure, for
I
sure,
like
for
it.
sure.
So you're saying your sister's mom was that person? The sweet.
The sweet person? No.
Who was the sweet person?
Well, she was the youth minister, the youth pastor,
Okay.
and her her name was Beverly Span,
Okay.
and I'd be hard pressed, even if you only get a few people listening to this episode, to not find somebody that she touched. You know what I mean? Because that's just how she
I knew
was.
her. Like,
That's just
yes.
right. That's just how she was, you know? And it was everybody or anybody saying hello to her was like a spiritual hug. Her saying hello to you. You know what I mean? Like it was just anything it doesn't matter if you cussed her out yesterday. If today she brought a bucket of chicken and ran out 2 people before you, we going back to KFC. Let's go. Come on, me and you. We think you want an apple pie? I got you. Like what? You know what I mean? So that's the type of person that she was. So I
That's
wouldn't
what
be
I would
surprised if
imagine
somebody.
that. Yeah, that I would. Yes, that's the type of person I feel like is like what a church person should look like. Like a
Exactly.
church leader for sure,
Mm-hmm.
but also, and she was, the youth minister,
Yeah.
and I was just like, she wanted to make sure it's almost like the Bible says something about leaving the 99 to go get the one. You
Mm-hmm.
gonna feel special. You gonna feel a part of this.
Exactly.
So she was, and
Exactly.
she was the one that made sure that there was no doubt. And
Right.
if can you imagine if like the whole church had that MO? Like
I
what
couldn't
is that?
even. I
What is
couldn't
that?
even. She was like that with everybody, not just the kids. She was like that with everybody.
Amazing.
The people that spit on her name 2 hours before, she was back at them 2 hours later. Do you need anything before I leave? You know what I mean? Like, and it's just
That's that
like
spirit for sure. Like I don't know what she was like in her younger days, but um she had to have grown into that because that's not easy to do. Because
yeah.
I try to live like that, and it is when people like you said throw your name, you be like nigga.
Right.
Uh,
Can I just
you
block
like
you? Like, I don't, you know what I
right,
mean? Can I just
like
block you? Like,
the shaking it off to do things that honor God because you know
yeah.
that's what God wants
Mm-hmm.
is like a level of something that I definitely aspire. I was just like,
Yeah.
this is not easy. And the people who can't do it, don't do it, don't think it's important are wrong. Because clearly she made an impact. And
Right.
that's the whole point. But they kind of like, I guess, neglect that part because it does impact, and also people are watching, especially the young people.
Mm-hmm.
So that's worth it in itself
Yeah.
because you're leading by example.
Yeah. And
And
what's crazy is the people that watch the most are the kids and the people that aren't in the church. Those are the people that are watching the most. And what's crazy is they can see somebody like that and be more willing to step into a church because of it than they would having a conversation where somebody is like, here's why you should give your life to Christ. You know what I mean? Like they see that behavior and they're like, well, maybe I should. And somebody making that decision on their own is so much more like impactful. Somebody making that decision because they saw someone that leads that way in the church is so much more like you have to want the help, so to speak. I'm trying to like make like a metaphor here, but if you want it without anybody having to come and get you and take you to it, that is,
that's next
I
level.
think that's what it's supposed to be
It
like, you
is.
know?
It
I
is.
think that's what it's supposed, and yeah, so she is amazing. Shout out to Asha, my other little sister from back then. We're not too close right now. Maybe I should reach out to her. I think I will. But
Praise the
that's her
Lord.
daughter.
Go ahead.
That's her daughter.
Is
And
her daughter like her?
um I don't know now.
Well,
But
then,
when we were young, man, we were teenagers. I don't even want to know what I was like to another person as a teenager. I'm gonna be honest with you. We were teenagers, we were catty, and I clung to her mom like a mom. So she probably like cussed me out secretly in her closet when she was no, but But I think we had like a little rivalry going on, so I don't know. But no, she was still
Little
also
friendly sister
right,
rivalry.
right. But she was still also very generous in her own right and very, very sweet, you know, when she thought nobody was looking, but I was looking. So yeah, she was quite like her mother in that respect for sure.
Cool, that's what's up.
Yeah.
Um, you said none of these things impacted you, or I'm sorry, impacted your either relationship with God or
Hmm.
your how you looked at God or God's love for
Hmm.
you and all that good stuff.
No.
It was just like you targeted the people because
Yeah.
these were the ones who were not being fair, being
Yeah.
hurtful.
Hmm.
What is your relationship with God like now, or Jesus in that case, or just how do you
Um.
view Christianity or just believers in general?
Ooh, girl.
Give it to us raw, girl. That's why
How do
we
I
here.
view Christianity? I don't. I'm gonna be honest with you because um God is one thing. And I feel like all of us in one way or another, regardless of what religion we choose and what name we choose to put to it, I believe there is a being, a higher power, a you know what I mean? A My thing is I believe that it's whatever it is, it has to be benevolent. Um, I think that's as far as I go right now. And I'll tell you that has nothing to do, absolutely nothing to do with the people, just more so me to do with my own spiritual journey that I am in probably smack dab in the middle of. Um, it's hard to get rid of the teachings. I'm not trying to, honestly. And it's hard to get rid of the indoctrination of, what I grew up with. And like I said, I'm not trying to. I still use some of the things that I learned, some of the principles that I learned literally every day, you know. And I'm watching it evolve, you know. And
Watching it evolve in you or just around you.
in me, excuse me, in me, yeah, and just the way that I perceive things. I know when I was younger, it's just like, okay, everybody's everybody, everybody has their things. We still have to love them, right? And that's real simple. And you get to a certain age, and it's like, that's not enough for me. You get to a certain age where certain things are done to you, certain things are said to you, certain things are happening around you, and it's like, that's not enough for me, you know? So I've learned things and I've noticed things, and my mind frame has evolved in ways that provide enough for me to still feel that way about people, you know. And I think excuse me, I'm so sorry. I think the way that it's evolved to now is to where I am able to look at people that way because now I have an understanding of people. I have an understanding of the fact that even if it hurts me, even if it hurts, somebody else walking down the street, every single thing that people say and do, they're attempting to meet a need, and that's all we are doing all day long is attempting to get our needs met. I get thirsty, so I'm gonna get up and go get me a bottle of water, you know. Sometimes it comes out in certain ways that it shouldn't, and that's just because we haven't learned how to meet that need in a way that's healthy, in a way that doesn't hurt people. And who am I to place the responsibility of the individual not learning a healthy way, non-hurtful way to get their needs met, to place that responsibility on God? you know it never made sense to me, even when it was just back in the day, like, oh, I have to love this person regardless of what they do. I even then I understood there's a separation here. There's a long way to travel between earth and heaven, so to speak. And there's no way, like, I understand he sees all, right? But there's no way that he's responsible for these people. There's no way that something that created life and created orchids. I love orchids. And created chocolate. I love chocolate, right? There's no way that this same being also said, I'm also going to create ways for us to hurt each other and I want you guys to use them. It's like, no, like there's no way, so I'm not going to hold, the powers that be responsible for what Shaquita might have did to me like 10 weeks ago, like that. It just went from a simple basic, oh, I know I'm supposed to intrinsically, like I've always known, like I'm supposed to love everybody. I'm supposed to treat everyone well. I've always known that. But it went from that, just the knowing, to I know I'm supposed to do that. And here's why. I'm supposed to love this person like I would want them to love me, like I love myself. And the reason why is because we're all just people. We are all just people figuring it out as we go. And sometimes when we're figuring it out, we hurt people, myself included.
Myself included.
And yeah, and despite the fact that I've hurt people, despite the fact that these other people have hurt people, I'm sure they feel the same way I do. I want to be loved. I want to be treated well. And I'm sure that these people who are walking around hurt and bleeding on other people, they want to be loved as well. They want to be given a second chance. They want to be, and not necessarily by the same person, but just a second chance in life, so if I want those things for me, and I want these things, and I'll take it even a little further. Like I want these things for me, and honestly, I want these things for strangers, and I don't know what they've done. I can also take that love and put it into the people I know. What not only do I know what they've done, but they've done it to me. Why isn't it just as easy? And that it just puts more perspective on, hey, I know we're supposed to love everybody no matter what. I think I answered your question.
No, you did. Do you think
Okay.
there was a lot in there. Do you think that God loves you?
That's a crazy question. Yeah. He's supposed to.
No, certainly.
I mean, if he don't, then for real, I'm deuces. No, I'm just playing.
Because like people,
yeah.
Well, I'm only saying that because I believe that you know God. So I was like, well, do you believe that God loves you? Like that seems like a logical next question.
Yeah.
Because I've seen you love others. I can't say that I've seen you love others who have hurt you. But I know that you're capable because I know that you understand in essence why that is. So it's like I can't, like from what you just said, like I know that we're supposed to, and I know why they are the way they are, but I've also done it myself. So there's a vicious circle of people hurting people.
Yeah.
And it's, you put that blame on the person and not on God. And a lot of people either do both, put it on God and the people, or just put it on God. It's like, why do you allow people to treat people like this? It's like, well, people make their own decisions. God doesn't make us do anything. But I do believe that people just are used by the enemy and they can't shake it. Like they just can't shake it. But where are you now spiritually? I mean, in my mind, you once considered yourself Christian. Now you are. What are you now?
Labelless is what I am. I am, you can say I am a believer in God, and I say that because I believe so strongly in love and my knowledge of God being love. We're gonna say that.
Amen.
I believe God.
What does Jesus fit into that?
It doesn't.
Okay.
It does not. Which is why I said labelless. If Jesus was my homie, I'd consider myself a Christian. If Muhammad was my homie, I consider myself Muslim. You know what I mean? But no, I just know that there are things that we are supposed to do, you know. And I think all of those things are rooted in love. Treating people well requires treating people well consistently, requires knowing how to love and choosing to do that all day, every day. I think forgiveness requires knowing how to love and choosing to do that every day.
Yep.
I think being happy requires knowing how to love so well that you do it to yourself without having to think about it. So that's where I am right now. And honestly, I'm not too sure if I want to find a label to put on it, because I feel like that's where muck comes in, you know. That's
Muck?
where
Who's
muck, like you know, just murky waters, we'll put it that way, comes in. I feel like that's where you then start giving people the right to dictate and judge your actions, you know. And we do a lot of that, and it's just weird in my opinion. It's just weird in my opinion, because like I don't know. Like, I don't even know how to explain it. I guess we can put it kind of like laws, like it's against the law to kill somebody, right? But if somebody were to come into my home and slaughter everybody on their way to my room, and I just happen to be the one with a gun, like, I am now breaking the law, killing him. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, I don't know. It just creates so much mess, I feel like, when it could just be easy. Like you said, if people acted the way that Beverly acted, that I am so in tune with God, and God is love, that I don't even have to think about this. I don't even have to think about it. I don't know. I know, because I know sometimes she knew when she walked in that door, it was going to be hell on the way out. You know what I mean? I feel like she knew that sometimes on Thursdays or Sundays, when she was walking in that door, it wasn't going to be a good day for her. So if I can go in there knowing that, and I am also going there with that knowledge and with so much love that it blinds the people that pay attention. You know what I mean? Like, if everybody was like that, I'm gonna go out on a limb right here. We wouldn't need a Bible. We wouldn't need, I'm for real.
Whoa, Tiger.
No, not even whoa, Tiger, because why do we need it, right? These are guidelines, right? And all of these guidelines, every single guideline that is put in place, you know, except for, you know, not eating fried fish or things with hooves and, you know, whatever, you know what I mean? Besides those things, everything else that is laid out, if people operated from that place of love and service, we wouldn't need the lessons that those stories are trying to teach us.
Just can't come out the womb with I just feel like those things have to be learned.
They do. And how would they be learned though? What is the easiest, quickest way that they will learn? Somebody can, no, forget that, because the word are words, right?
The word,
I think I learned to read when I was 3. I can't even tell you what age I was when I learned to comprehend. Okay. But what I can tell you is probably some of the first things that I learned were wrong. Some of the first things I learned, and the things that I held on to the hardest, were wrong. But I learned them because I saw them. And if we walked around and operated in love and in service, and that's all the babies saw, when they got older, when they got old enough to act on their own, and, you know, and I'm talking like 4, 5, 6, it's already there. They already know, hey, if I'm not playing with this toy right here, there's no reason why Timmy can't play with it. You know what I mean? And that extends when we get older, that expands to, you know, unreachable bounds, because at this point, it's all we know. We don't know racism. We don't know sexual assault. We don't know, you know what I mean? Down talking people. We don't know any of these things because they don't happen.
I disagree. I think people are so people are naturally sinful that it only takes one person to, and you're saying everybody's operating like Sister Beverly, Minister Beverly.
Yeah,
Even if it was a
everybody.
whole bunch of Beverlys running around, there would be an oddball that was like, no, I don't want to do it. Even though that's all they saw. There would be a rebellious person that was like, no. And then there would be another person like, no, I feel like them. I like what they're doing. So I'm going to do that. There's going to be one, dude. There's going to be one.
Okay.
Even if that's all they saw.
Okay.
Because, yeah, no. Like, we
Right.
need the word. We need it to teach. The word is living. It is communicated through the Holy Spirit. So you're not just reading words. It's like
Right.
the whole thing. And you know
When
this.
I listen, I know this, yes. And that's why I'm saying it with such confidence, because even then, if we're trying to teach these people that have strayed, right? Mm-hmm. How easy would it be to just sit them down and instead of, since leading by example did not work, since this being all they saw did not work, how easy would it be also for these people that are operating in complete and total love to sit these outliers down and communicate with them about why they're acting the way that they're acting, about why they're saying the things that they're saying, and about how that makes other people feel, and about how they would feel if it had to be made to feel those same ways. And honestly, if that don't work, a Bible story ain't gonna work. Honestly, if that don't work, nothing's gonna work. You know, because I mean, a Bible story is just the same thing. It's the same thing. It's us telling a story that's teaching a lesson. You know, and if we sit them down and we're trying to teach them a lesson, not only are we trying to teach them a lesson, we're trying to incorporate them in the lesson, because not only do I want to teach you something, I also want to learn something. Can you please explain to me, or please just tell me how you feel, you know? And then after you tell me how you feel, then we can talk about the behavior and what goes on around it, you know? I'm not saying that, I mean, I'm not, I have nothing to speak on its usefulness right now, because it's a lot going on right now. There are things.
You talking about the Bible?
In the world. Yes, the Bible. Yes, the Bible. Yes, the Bible. There's a lot going on right now in the world. And
so
there are things that I, know as far as the Bible, like I said, I still use freaking every day, you know? But I can't imagine that I would need these stories. I can't imagine exactly how useful they would be if even 70% of the people I encountered in my life operated from that same place of love and service. I can't imagine that I would be reaching back as often, you know? Like, I just feel like if everyone operated that way, not necessarily religion would be obsolete, because I do feel like people need to believe in things, and they also need to believe in things that speak to them. So I think that the different religions would still be necessary. But I think that the laws surrounding them wouldn't, because we'd already be following them for the most part, you know?
I mean, I would like to think that too, but
right.
I just know, well, people too. Mm-hmm. Like, our experiences growing up were drastically different.
Yeah.
But just how I know people to be, and even people who grew up in the same household, they're like night and day. Like, even like if you think like a twin, like one twin, sometimes twins are similar, and sometimes they're literally the opposite. So it's like how people stray and how people, I don't know, get lost upon the way, even though they've been taught, even though the family values, not even the word at this point, but just the family values in the household were taught, were enforced.
Yeah.
And they carried those on in their lives outside. As soon as you step outside, it's the real world. So you're hit with like all kind of stuff. And you're like, oh, what are you going to accept? Can you still love? Like, you have to ask yourself all those questions every day. And I think that depending on whatever your walk is,
Mhm.
um, the Bible is definitely still beneficial, and I feel
Yeah,
like every Christian
that's
wants everybody
fine.
to be a Christian. Like, we just out here just making disciples, but I
Yeah,
want everyone to know that unfortunately that is not everybody's walk, and
right.
it's a
Yeah,
tough pill to swallow,
unfortunately.
but we know that,
Hmm.
but we still love them, and I think that's where people fall short. There's like, I gotta love the people who I know don't believe, and we're like, yes, yes, and you treat them the same, and you treat them the way
Right.
I treat you, and
Hmm.
they're like, well, I can do it a little bit, you know,
Right.
I can do it kind of, sort of,
Right.
but they really don't. They don't walk in it, and they don't walk in it, and they, like you said, the churches are very cliquey.
Hmm.
So there's all these different groups in the church, and everybody's not one. They're not of one
Right.
mind. They're not of one,
Right.
and that's not what the Bible teaches. So people
Hmm.
aren't being obedient. Let's just
At
just
all.
at the
At
core,
all.
and they're not being obedient in their own households. They're not being obedient at school. I
Hmm.
was told by a wise man um, that how a person does one thing is how they do everything. And I was just like, because he was talking about his friend that wasn't paying like the internet bill. I mean, his roommate. And I was just,
Uh-huh.
he was, I'm saying, so he don't pay none of the bills. Like, he just out here just not paying bills. And he was just like, I'm just saying, if he didn't pay the internet bill on time, what else is getting not paid on time? And I was just like, and it's one thing when you're just, working slow, you're freelancing, that's different. But this is consistently happening.
Mhm.
You're like trying to make it work, but no, you have income and you're just not spending your money wisely. That's like completely different. But I was just like, okay, I can work with that. I
Yeah.
can work with that. But so you said currently you're not labeled.
Hmm.
Um, and you do believe that God loves you, but you don't believe in Jesus. When did the not believing in Jesus occur?
I
Like,
don't
when
know.
was Jesus taken out of the equation?
I don't know. Honestly. Yeah, I'm not too sure on that one. I don't think I could give you a definite answer
No, if you don't
for
know.
there. Um, I think that there are a lot of things. I don't know. I don't know. There are a lot of things I want to say around that, but I can't uh qualify a reasoning as to why I would say it. So I can't really think of when. Um,
Well, I want you to speak freely. So, what is
oh
it?
no, it's not that I don't feel like I can speak freely.
Oh, okay.
It's just that like you've said like the way I answer questions so thoroughly, I could give you a very, very thorough answer that wouldn't even answer your question. So
Oh, okay, okay, okay. And like
I
actually,
felt I
you're
felt myself
still
about to
wondering.
like step into a rabbit hole that did not lead to anything you wanted to know. So I backed away. That's all that
Oh,
was.
okay, okay. That's
But
fair.
yeah, no, I can't really give you like a for sure a for sure answer on
Okay.
that. I think maybe just um when my brain could no longer make sense of Christianity as a whole, I think a lot of things just kind of fell off. Um, even despite abiding by most of the rules, a lot of the concept and the why of the rules fell off to me. I didn't understand it. It didn't make sense. It did not contribute to me or society or the love I have for everyone in general as a whole. It did nothing, you know? So a lot of things just kind of fell off there. So I can't really tell you when that happened.
No, it's all good. Yeah, if anything would have played out differently, what would you have liked to happen? Like, we gave you one of the instances that you gave us earlier. What would you have liked to see as a kind of like a correction? Um, when you were a teenager and you were seeing all these things happen around you, what would you have liked to see as far as some kind of reconciliation for the people you saw being mistreated? And how do you think
Um,
that would have impacted you?
um, I mean, I guess I just would have liked to see a change, like a complete 180. I would have liked to see, I would like to have seen the church body the way I thought it should have been, as a complete whole, not as a hierarchy.
Right.
I would have liked, yes, I think that's the biggest thing, just love. And if we're talking these things happened, and then I would have liked to see it get it better. I would have liked to see that unconditional, just intrinsic love being expressed the way that it should have, and that would have come first with accountability.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I think that's the biggest thing would be accountability coming from love, and then leading to more love, you know. So.
What would you say to people who, and you don't have to answer this, what would you say to people, because I feel like people don't talk to people like this about church things,
Mm-hmm.
especially if the church things aren't pleasant to hear about, like all the things that they've done to people who are
Mm-hmm.
worshiping and fellowshipping with them.
Yeah.
What would you say to the people who are in these spaces, and you're telling a story about when you were a teenager, but as an adult, what would you say to encourage them to prevent these things from happening? You kind of just said it when you said be accountable for your actions,
Mm-hmm.
and like make it right, like some kind of reconciliation, so that you guys can move forward and be that church body that you read about, you learned about. Is there anything else you would say to, like I don't know, since I'm a part of the church body, I'll be like me, but like just in general, like how they treated your sister, friends, like, is there a message you like to say to them, to be like, hey guys, when you're in a space like that, this is what people expect, but can you, I don't know, be accountable for your actions and know that you are not, I heard you say like authority a lot, like you have they have this authority to do certain things, like don't abuse it. Like, is there like a message you can, like, because I want people who are believers to listen to this and be like, I've been that person.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of want you to be like, okay, if you notice that you are that person, because if I say it, it's like, were you part of us? But if you say it, it's like, I feel like it would be more impactful.
Okay.
So
Okay, I'll put this
talk to
as
them directly, be like, guys,
uh,
doing this.
I'll put this as simply as I can. I'll put this as simply as I can, and that is, um, pain and mistreatment and hurt cause a lot of noise. Cause a lot of noise. And some of you, I know for sure, have amazing, wonderful things to say that people need to hear. And they won't hear you if you're also creating an immense amount of noise with your behavior.
There was a plane going by, and I was like,
I
don't
figured.
interrupt. You know, I live by the airport. I was like, oh my God, that was so good. And it was going by, and it was like right towards the end. So I was like, don't interrupt it. They're going to hear the airplane.
Yeah, man.
Thank you very much. That is very helpful to hear. Hopefully people listen to it and kind of respect your experience and try to kind of look at their spaces and see if there can be improvement, which we know that there can be.
Yeah.
And actually do it. Not just be like, oh yeah, we can improve in these areas. Like, there's a person I've been picking on, I've been bullying, I've been all those things, and let me, not do that anymore. Let me take accountability.
Yeah.
Like,
here's it. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying, moving the way that we all know that we should be, like Sister Beverly. But
Yeah, the biggest thing I think that people forget is that every single thing that you put out into the world starts with you. And a lot of times people in the church and people in power and people in power in the church find it very easy to neglect you, and you shouldn't. I think that once you gather a complete and whole understanding of love for yourself and of the things that are hurt within you that might cause you to project that hurt onto others, I think once you get a handle on that and work through that, and or even like in the working through, just learn to love yourself more, you'll realize it'll be pretty easy to translate into putting that love out into the world in a way that makes it easy, like I said earlier, to hear the message that you have, to hear the things that people need to hear, so yeah, that's it.
that was a lot. I love it. Thank you for coming on here and telling me your story. These are stories I haven't heard before. You very generous. You're like, I got stories, but not tell me what those stories are. And thank you for being open and willing to talk about I guess your journey in your spiritual journey in general. Is there anything that I can do to, I guess, right or wrong, or even in conversations or any conflict we've had in the past, to, because I want to do it. It's like, I want to lead by example. Mm-hmm. So if there's anything maybe I've said to you in the past, or anything that I need to apologize for, can I assist in your journey of reconciliation? Even though you're pretty independently reconciled. She's like an independent reconciler. She's like, I'll reconcile on my own. No. But yeah, is there anything I can do, or anything I can apologize for, or anything?
Yes, actually, there is. You can continue to do everything you've been doing. Just watching you. Listen, y'all gonna have to deal with this. I'm a firm believer of giving your flowers while you still alive. And excuse me. So I just want to say, just watching you grow voluntarily, you are willingly, on your own, unsolicited, putting in the work and constantly looking for ways to improve your future behavior while also learning from the things that you've done in the past. Anything between you and I usually gets settled pretty quickly. And that's because you are good at taking accountability and trying to learn from that. And I am as well. And just watching you, because I feel like you weren't always that way. Like in the beginning of our friendship, you weren't really that way. And
certainly not.
I've seen.
I can confirm. This is my reading buddy, y'all. I just wanted to pause real quick. This girl right here, she gave me access to her little situation with the audiobook. It changed the game. Yeah. Oh, continue.
And she's not, I just want y'all to know, like, she's not just pandering. She's not just trying to, get people to the church or anything like that. I think she's just trying to grow and develop that love that we were speaking of, that Beverly love, and I've seen you, Tavishya, put in the work. And with this platform here, I know that you are righting some wrongs that you didn't even commit, and that is what I need you to do for me. I need you to keep contributing to the healing of others, because I'm not the only one that's been hurt by you or by other people, and some of us, a lot of us, me included, because some of the people that have hurt me are no longer with me in my time of I can speak up for myself and go out and seek that accountability if it's there. Some of us won't get a chance to heal with the people that have hurt us. And I think that you providing a safe place for the hurt and the hurters, to everybody to just kind of grow and heal together, separately, whatever you want to call it. I think that that's doing more than your part. I think it's amazing what you're doing. And I am grateful for what you're doing and how it's going to impact and help heal everybody, because that's all I care about, So the growth that you've done is amazing. So just keep doing it. That's the thing that you can do for me. Just never stop trying to find ways to grow and learn and love better, for sure.
Wow, thank you, dude.
Of course.
I am. Sometimes, as someone on the other end, or just someone who doesn't get to see it, like sometimes I know that's not often common to get to see someone go from, where they were to where they are now. Like you might hear about it, but to experience it is very encouraging to hear that you're seeing it. And you told me this a while back, and I was just like, oh snap. And I legit still think I'll be like, I got it, I'm getting it. And you'll be like, yeah, girl, you get there. And I was like, oh,
yeah.
I didn't know, because I fall along the way, and I have friendships that you know about that aren't no longer, and I'll be like, oh, so but that still counts. Like you're like, oh, that's a part of the journey.
Yeah, let me talk to him. If you're really concerned, let me talk to him. I got
like
right.
I want to talk to you. She got
I got your back, dog. Because I think the biggest cheat code in life, right, is to figuring out who deserves to go and who deserves to stay in your life. I think you can start on a base level and eradicate a lot of work by figuring out who in your life is different mentally, emotionally than they were 6 months ago. If they've done something wrong, or if they've just not even done something wrong, just learned more about themselves and are applying it to how they project out into the world consistently, at the very least, that should be grounds to stay. I mean, I'm sure there are other factors there, but that should be like the biggest determination, because if someone's not willing to grow, not willing to put the work in to make themselves a better person, to love themselves better, you're gonna clash at some point, and it's gonna be a clashing that's gonna be painful for somebody, and a waste of time for everybody to continue afterwards. So, but you put in that work literally every day. If I say something about a book that has impacted me in some kind of way that you're looking to grow in, you'll be like, who's that? What's the name of it? What we doing? Can we talk about it later?
What platform is it? Like, I was like, I can see what she's reading, and I'll be like, ooh, like that don't apply to me. So let me look into this, because it might, and I don't know it. A lot of the books that I've read, let's talk about books. A lot of the books that I read, and I saw that you read, I was like, first I did ask, why is she reading this? But then after reading them, I understood why you read them. I mean, granted, there's probably other reasons why you read them, but with what I know of you, I was like, oh, yeah, this is very helpful. And then, one book usually leads to other books, or just at least the authors are, you kind of see what else they've written, and you're like, yo, I need to read all these. And so that's those book rabbit holes I find myself going down. But just being able to be, I don't know, not afraid to read something you don't know anything about. And I was just like, why aren't I doing that? Like, don't I want to be the person that knows about things? And yeah, so what have you read recently that you would like to recommend?
Girl, I am taking a hiatus from books. Yeah, because
I feel like if I was there, I would like feel your forehead like with both hands.
It happens every once in a while, where I've taken so much, and I'm also trying to do so much that it makes sense to not. And because I'm not like driving for a living anymore, I can't just listen to audiobooks like while I'm working. But yeah, between class and work and the other contract I picked up and the podcast, like I don't really have time at all. I'm trying to sneak in actually. Oh, I'm trying to sneak in this one, and this is not nonfiction. Go ahead and feel my forehead. This is The Ones Who Don't Say They Love You. It is a collection of short stories.
Okay.
I'm kind of trying to motivate myself to pick up my novel again. I haven't written anything in over a year. So I'm working on a book, and I'm trying to kind of motivate myself by reading other fiction. And it's a collection of short stories written by a guy from New Orleans. I got lost in a bookstore in New Orleans on my birthday and came out with a lot of gems, and that's one of them. So I'm trying to get that to, yes, motivate me to pick my book up again and start writing, and also to try and maybe ease my way back into reading, because I stopped like I want to say maybe 2 months ago. I just kind of put it down because I was just really busy. But as far as like nonfiction, I don't think I've read anything in a minute. I think Outliers may have been the last thing I read, which was amazing. Did you see that one? Did you read it? Okay. Outliers. I think that's by Max. Don't get me to line. The name of the book is Outliers. The end. And it is. Oh my goodness! It's an amazing book about the people that lay on the outside of ordinary, the extraordinary people, and like the factors that you wouldn't even consider that caused them to get there. I think one part of the book is talking about hockey players and how in one place they're better when they're born in certain months, but it's not because of like astrology or anything like that. It's because of the regulations that they put on age in that league and where in the year the cutoff is. So it was like players born in February are tend to be better, and because they're better earlier in life, they give them more attention, so they end up being extraordinarily better later on in life. So it's just little stuff like that, like what kind of pilots are better and how where they're from dictates how they the decisions that they make and whether or not they second guess them so much that it makes them bad pilots. Like, it's crazy, but it's a really good book that also just gives me, I'm constantly trying to figure out how, or I'm constantly trying to learn how to understand people better. And the more that I work to do that, the more I understand that there are 1,083,000 factors that go into the smallest decision
You
that
already
people
know. Yeah.
make. And it's like, what I'm trying to do is make it impossible. It's already next to impossible for me to judge people right off. I always like, I see them do something and I'm like, don't react. Not only don't react, don't judge. What could it be that this person could be going through? And if I don't feel like figuring it out and I know this is a temporary interaction, I'm just going to act like it never happened and we are best friends until it's over. You know what I mean? But I'm just learning that there's so many factors that go into it, and Outliers was a good book and it helped me to understand and have more empathy for just underdogs, people that are looked over because they aren't extraordinary, and it also helped me to kind of forgive myself in some areas of my life for not being amazing.
But you are
And yeah,
amazing. He's amazing.
anyways, I'm constantly wanting to improve, and there's some times where I am so hard on myself about my lack of improvement, or improvement not looking like what I think it should, that I kind of stall out sometimes. And I'm trying to also just learn to give myself more grace, as much grace as I have for other people, and as I tell other people to have for themselves. Like, I'm not leading by example in that regard, and I'm trying to get there as well. So the book helped a lot with that.
Oh, nice. Well,
Yeah.
then I will put that on my.
It's a quick one too, and it's so interesting. Like, it's so like just enthralling that you'd go through it, you run through it really quickly.
Okay. I will certainly.
Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna wrap this up. I just want to tell you guys how I met her, because it's kind of like I kind of like picked her up, and I was like, nah. And apparently people told me, well, they told me in my younger days, but they were like, I'm like an aggressive friend. Like I kind of make you
She is,
my
y'all.
friend. I just feel like I just have to be like, look, we're going to be in each other's lives. And this is why. And I make
That's exactly what happened.
and I was like, and I just want you to know, how this is going to be moving forward. And then if it doesn't work, that's fine. But in the beginning, we're going to be cool. But anyway, so I was in an Uber or Lyft or whatever.
Lift gang.
Right. And she was just real cool, and I was working on the show. A friend of mine was working on the show. And
Speak it, girl. Speak it.
right. And I was getting a lift from the set back to the hotel. And she picked me up and she was like, "Are they shooting something?" And I was like, "They are." And I was just like, "What show is it?" I was like, "It's Claws on TNT." And she was a fan. She knew the show. And I was like, bet. Because it's like, it wasn't the most popular show, but I feel like people knew about it. Even if they didn't watch it, they knew that.
Let me tell you, where DC Nash shows up, so do I. The end. I am also watching is it the Ricky Feds?
Yeah.
Girl, I am there every week, religiously.
So went there, and I was like, look, I call myself buying her lunch. I don't know if you remember that, but I was just like, I like this girl. I gave her like a super big tip, and I was like, well, let me buy you lunch. And I gave her like, like a $15 tip or something crazy like that. And I was just like, what's your social media? I didn't think she was gonna give it to me because we're strangers and all. So I was just like,
I was leery. I was like, I can give you Instagram. We can get safe.
So we started talking on IG, and then I was like, "What are you doing tomorrow night?" And she was like, "I mean, nothing." And then we went out. Me, her, and my friend who was working on Claws. We went out, and then we like walked the streets, had a great time. And then have you ever been awake when your body transitioned from being sober to hungover? Because I was in that moment. And she was checking on me. She's like, "Hey, I know you say you were leaving early," because she's an early bird. She was like, "You got on a plane yet?" I was like, "Something's happening." She was like, "What?" I was like, "Cuz." I was like, "I'm not gonna make it." I was at the airport about to board, and my stomach said, "No, I can't." I was in the bathroom the whole time, that whole flight, and I thought the flight attendant was gonna like to break the door open to get me out, because that, when you hung over, that number two just comes flowing. In my stomach, it was a mess. And I was just like, I don't do that too often, or I don't get like that too often. But anyway, I say all that to say, I kept in touch with her. I told her about a feature I wanted to write, and she was like, I gave her two options. I had two on my mind, and she picked one, and I'm currently co-writing that one. So I kind of recruited her, and because of her, we have like a few drafts of it written already, hopefully to finish it soon. And I was just like, had she not started that process with me, even though it was rough, we wouldn't be this far. So thank you. Because I couldn't do it by myself. And I know I don't know if you feel like you did, like, it was a struggle for the both of us, because
I always feel like I don't do nothing. I always
was
feel
just
like,
like,
man, I ain't did nothing.
yeah, but the starting was the hardest part. Now that we've started and have like these drafts later, it's getting better. Like, it's every draft is getting, and I can see it, and I know you can see it too.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, oh man, we like writers now. Like, well, she's a writer. I'm a new writer. She's a G. But yeah, so look for that soon. It's called Dealing with Death.
You actually got me back into writing. Like, I had put it down for a while, just because, you grow up, and not necessarily you, but a lot of us, especially Black women, we grow up and we're told that we can't do certain things, and not even, and they don't tell you, like, we're not telling you this because we fear that you can't make money doing it. Like, they don't tell you that that's probably why they're telling you that. And some people told me that, I'm sure for that reason, and some people told me that, I'm sure, just because they didn't think I could do anything. And I had been fighting most of my life letting that get to me, and I think it got to me in my 20s, and I kind of sat down the writing. I would, write something every once in a while. Like, I might, write a poem or a piece of prose or a short story every once in a while. But before you and I had met, I hadn't really had gotten serious about writing anything. And now I am. Like, I started a book that I've been trying to write for like ever. And I also have like 10 script ideas sitting in my phone. So it definitely opened a door for me. So yeah. You lucked up, because that was right when I had moved to New Orleans. If I had been there for a while and I had like friends, I probably would have been like, this girl crazy. I'm not hanging out with somebody I just met. But yeah, so I thank you for that. Thank you for unlocking that door that I had lost the key to, for sure.
You're welcome, cuz. All right, so we like low-key cousins, because
That's fine.
they'd be like, who is that? And I'm like, that's my cousin.
Okay, that's the story now. Okay, I got it. Okay, cool. Thank you for that update.
So I'm gonna pray out and I'm gonna
Okay.
let you go. But thank you so much for coming
Of course.
and telling me all the things and giving me my flowers, which I was not expecting. And it took a lot for me not to cry.
Aw.
And you said that, and I was like, "Don't do it! Don't you do it!" I had to turn that mic on. Mute it. So I was like, "Be cool, be cool." Lord, thank you for
my girl V
and her kind words. Thank you for this being a space where people can find healing and have a kind of insight on things that we've done to others, and hopefully have the courage to right a wrong. Let the spirit of reconciliation be upon people who are listening, who have history, and let them feel moved to have compassion enough to do something about it. Thank you for our families and friends. Continue to meet our needs and help us reach our goals. In Jesus' name, amen.